On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we, technically revisit the Anthropocene Extinction by Cattle Decapitation, although this is OJ's first time, so
yes,
it's practically a brand new episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast. I'm Kayle.
I'm OJ.
And today we're going to be talking, once again, technically, if you're a longtime listener of this podcast, about the Anthropocene Extinction by Cattle Decapitation. Because, boy, I just can't get enough of those boys from San Diego.
They're quite marvelous.
Yes. I figured, since we've been talking about them a lot lately, with their new album, Death Atlas, coming out in November on Black Friday, I figured we might as well give this one a revisit for your sake, since you were not on the episode where we talked about that. And to me, it's their best album and the one that's going to be...
So far.
Yeah. It's the one that's going to be most indicative of, I think, what Death Atlas is going to sound like.
That impresses me, by the way, when a band, their latest album is their best album so far.
Yeah.
That makes me happy.
Well, and it kind of... For Cattle Decapitation, it kind of works because they... by their own admission, more or less, only started trying in about 2009. I think when they started actually taking the band seriously was about in 2009, where they put out an album called The Harvest Floor. I think that came out in 2009. But at any rate, they actually tried with that release. And it showed it was a lot more put together than most of their other stuff, which was generally sort of very gory, kind of slapdash, gore grind and grindcore and death metal elements. And then the Harvest Floor kind of began the process of doubling down on the death metal and doing all of that. We'll talk a little bit more about all that stuff later. In the meantime, we both actually have lined up our television watching experience for this week. We both watched, not independently of each other. You kind of at my urging.
You said, hey, I got this show that I've been watching. Well, I'm going to watch that show.
Yeah. It's called The Boys. It's on Amazon. You've probably seen ads for it online. It's, wow.
Yeah.
I was remarkably impressed by it. I kind of went in going like, oh, this will be, a fun, it looks funny. It's dark. It looks like it's kind of gory. This will be an interesting watch. And then it ended up being really, really good. And so, I watched it all in one sitting, basically, just in an afternoon. You watched it the last couple of days, sometimes at work.
Right, sometimes at work, yeah. Trying not to, I'm trying to look like I'm doing work and busy.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's the end of the summer. It's slow times for us. But, no, so if you don't know the premise of The Boys, it is... It's based on a comic that came out in 2006. The name of the writer escapes me, but generally he is known for despising superheroes.
Sure.
And so he made a comic about what if superheroes existed in our cold, dark, terrible world that we actually live in.
What if they had actual power as human beings, like that amount of power, ultimate power.
And the desires that human beings normally have for things like money and power and sex. They're people with superpowers that are still beholden to very human desires. And also, how would they be affected by capitalism? Corporations basically taking over and marketing superheroes to the world, or in this specific instance to the United States.
And our current environment of social media and everything like that is really big in there.
All of that comes into play when a young man named Huey is with his girlfriend, and she's one step off the curb when she becomes collateral damage to this universe's version of the Flash that is going somewhere for some reason and runs through her.
Really, 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 really fast. She becomes like a mist.
Yeah, basically.
Except for her arms that he's holding.
Yes. Red paste, essentially. And that's not really much of a spoiler. That's in the first 10 minutes of the first episode,
Right.
and it's what gets you on this journey.
It's in the trailer.
Into this dark, just fucked up world.
Which I watched the trailer, by the way, with my kids in the room, and I went, whoa.
Uh-oh.
Nope. Maybe later when the kids are in bed.
Yeah.
And of course, also maybe later when I'm doing work at my desk.
And if you have watched the trailer and thought, oh, that looks pretty dark, but I hope they didn't show all of the worst stuff and all of the most shocking stuff in the trailer. No, they really didn't. There is a scene. It is, I guess, the penultimate scene. It's not the final scene of the season. It is the penultimate scene of the season, and the conclusion of that had my jaw on the floor for about 2 minutes. I was so shocked by it, but in a good way. Like there is, sort of the French extremism thing of shocking to be shocking, and it's this, really just weird, fucked up sort of stuff.
This is actually weird and fucked up and fits the story.
Yeah, this is not shocking for the sake of shocking. It's not gory for the sake of gory. It's not. No. You're not watching Saw with superheroes. There is a lot of stuff going on, and a lot more going on than I thought there would be. So I'm very satisfied and impressed with it, and now I desperately want more.
Yeah, my wife came in on the third episode, and she sat down after the kids were asleep. She said, "Okay, what's going on?" And I went, "Oh shit."
It's hard to explain.
Yeah, this is difficult. They're kind of bad guys, but they're not. But they are.
Yeah. In any other universe with superheroes. Your main characters would be villains.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
But in this one, they are, generally speaking, the most, at least the protagonist is, the most morally upstanding character. I want to make a point, though, that all of these, they do a great job at making all of these characters feel human in some way or another.
Right.
They all feel like real characters. Some of them are maybe a little flanderized.
Well, sure, taken from other universes or other works of of fiction.
Because the team that is the premier superhero team of this multi-billion-dollar company, Disney, is known as the Seven, and they're basically the Justice League. In a sense, you've got your Superman analog, you've got Batman, who hilariously says nothing. You've got Aquaman.
He plays piano.
Yeah, yeah. Great little humorous moment there. Yeah. But you've got your Aquaman, you've got your Wonder Woman, and you've got one of the other main characters. There's kind of two POV characters in the show. One of the other main characters is sort of the new girl on the team.
She's kind of all shucks and
sweet, cute Midwestern girl with superpowers. And she's sort of like a Power Girl type analog, is Carol Danvers, or is that
would be Captain Marvel right there?
Yeah, there's so many fucking superheroes.
Yeah,
and that's why I like this show, is because I have that sentiment of just like there's too many fucking goddamn superheroes, and then this show is like, yeah, well, we're gonna fucking kill them.
And there's a lot of nods to the Watchmen in there. I've noticed.
Oh yes.
Well, yeah.
I can only imagine that the original writer of that comic was a huge fan of Watchmen.
Sure.
So I feel like most people who try to write dark comic books probably got the idea from Watchmen, or maybe like some of the Frank Miller Batman comics. But anyway, The Boys, great show. You should go watch it.
Sure.
Carl Urban is in it. If you've seen Carl Urban in any other things, you probably liked him, because how can you not like Carl Urban?
Yeah, exactly.
He's great in everything.
He played at the fair here one year.
God damn it.
When?
Not that Urban.
Wasn't that Carl Urban? Is he married to...
He's not married to Nicole Kidman.
Nicole Kidman? No?
No, he's not. Although Carl Urban was born... Carl Urban is from New Zealand. Keith Urban was born in New Zealand.
Okay, right.
Then he moved
but
to
lives
Australia.
in Australia. Okay, all right. Okay.
I'm sure he lives in L.A., actually.
Now?
Yeah, he lived in Australia for quite some time.
I mean, Carl Urban. Now that we got that straight.
Bones from Star Trek is in The Boys.
Okay.
Or...
Bones is in The Boys. All right.
Yeah. Or if... What I prefer to think of him as is... oh, no. What's his name? Oh, God. What's his name? From Lord of the Rings. Oh, no. Oh no.
Is Carl Urban in Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
Trying to
He's
remember
fucking oh god. He's Theoden's nephew.
Oh, right. Yeah.
He becomes king after Theoden dies. Oh no. I'm so disappointed in myself. And I watched all 3 of the extended edition movies like
you did
a few months ago.
Éomer.
Good God. Okay, yeah. He's Éomer in Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm so disappointed.
He's also
in
in the Thor Ragnarok.
Yes,
and he's awesome in that.
Thor Ragnarok. He's in Chronicles of Riddick.
Yes.
So
he's a bad guy in there.
He is.
Yeah.
Although he gets to live at the end. Anyway, he's one of the main characters in The Boys. Fantastic. Simon Pegg is in there.
Yeah, as an American.
As an American and as a dad character.
Right.
He's just sort of a harmless, middle-aged guy who's Huey's dad, and it works, actually.
Very well.
Very well. Like, because I saw him in the trailers, and I was like, really? Who's Simon Pegg playing? And then when I started watching, I was like, that's his dad? Simon Pegg is a dad of, like, a guy my age? Oh, yeah. That works.
They're all from Star Trek.
Because I grew up, watching movies like Shaun of the Dead and shit like that. Mm-hmm. And he was always, sort of the young kind of bumbling guy who's eternally single and in every movie.
What was the name of the TV show? It was a British TV show he was in before he was in movies. Something about Spaced or something like that.
I don't know.
Yeah, where they were all living in apartments. All the same people that are in Shaun of the Dead. It's all the same actors.
Same group of people.
Yeah.
Is it made by the guy who directed Shaun of the Dead?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense then. I cannot recall that actor. It's not an actor.
That director's name.
That director's name, but the Cornetto trilogy.
Yes, the Cornetto trilogy. This is going to be a fun podcast.
Gee, okay. Do we want to talk about cattle decapitation? Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
I'm gonna go jump off a roof this weekend.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to say that. I'm helping out the Minot YWCA, and it's an event called Over the Edge, and they wanted us to raise money for the YWCA. Of course, it helps. It's a shelter for women and children locally.
Yeah.
And there's this taller building. It's 8 stories. It's the Parker Senior Center.
It's tall enough that you wouldn't want to fall off of it.
Directly, yes.
Unsecured.
And so they're going to secure, and I've never done this before, I'm going to rappel down a building.
And you're afraid of heights.
Yeah, oh yeah.
How did you end up being afraid of heights? Your dad was a pilot.
Yeah.
That's why, I imagine.
It's funny, actually, before Dad was a pilot, I was afraid of heights.
Okay.
I mean, and I used to do things because of my relationship with that particular fear. I used to do things like climb every tree or every building I could.
Trying to get over it?
At the same time, get over it and just get that extreme rush of,
okay.
Oh my God! Like people have with roller coasters, it's me on the the third branch of the oak tree.
Some of your life decisions are starting to make more sense to me now. Okay, it's interesting. Like, I'm not generally afraid of heights. I'm afraid of
depths.
Depths, yeah, I've discussed that before. I'm not a big fan of the open ocean, but I'm also not a big fan of
smells.
I hate all smells. I would plug my nose all the time if I could, but I work in audio, so that would sound weird.
Sure.
I'm already nasally enough.
Hi, I'm Kayle.
This nose is already a big old just resonating chamber for the rest of my voice. I don't need to make it even worse. But no, like I'm afraid of not heights, but of the feeling of, or the perception that I am
falling, or no,
the perception that I am up a great height and not on something that is sturdy.
Ah, okay.
For example, the glass walkway at the Grand Canyon
terrifies you.
Pretty much, yeah. I did not have a great time on that. I got over it quickly. It was like, okay, this is all right. I was still walking, kind of gripping the rail and doing everything. I wasn't as terrified as my mom. Mm-hmm. She'll be the first to tell you she didn't care for that at all.
Right.
Damn it, OJ.
Yeah, that'll be little girl calling my daughter, who knows my daughter's number.
Okay.
Anyway.
Anyhow,
sorry.
You're fine. You're fine. I'm not mad.
Sorry.
You have like a family and obligations and stuff. How dare that intrude with our silly little hobby? But no, like that I wasn't a fan of, and I remember when I was a kid, kind of how I discovered this fear is it was family night at the power plant, and my dad took us up to the top floor of the power plant inside the main building, which is quite a ways up. I think it's probably the roof of that main building is probably 10 stories, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe taller than that. I don't know. 10 stories is 100 feet.
Something like that.
It's probably taller than that. And because it's an industrial facility, all of the floors on those higher levels are all cross-hatched steel. I don't know what to call them. It's a steel floor that you can see through.
Sure.
All the way down to the basement, which
Neat.
is the basement is like goes another 50 or 100 feet down into the ground. So you're not just seeing down to ground level, you're seeing all the way down to the terrifying depths of this industrial facility with all of the red glow and fires and other shit that's going on. But yeah, that's kind of how I discovered that fear of I don't like being able to see all the way what's directly beneath my feet. I can look out over something as long as I don't look immediately down and I can see, oh, that's my death down there.
Sure.
I can look out over things just fine and climb up things and be on and attached to things up, high in trees and stuff. I don't mind that. And like flying, looking out the window doesn't bother me at all. Like that's fine. But if like a glass bottomed plane, no, nuh-uh.
How about a glass bottom boat?
Probably not that either.
Oh, okay.
Probably, unless you're in the shallows and the tropics and stuff, and the water's nice and clear and you can see all the things. But if you're in the middle of the murky open ocean, no.
Okay.
I have problems with that. Murky water is a big thing for me because I even get little pangs of anxiety swimming around in a lake where I know there's nothing that remotely approaches being able to do significant harm to me. Like a big muskie or a big northern pike could come up and try to bite you.
Sure.
It's not going to rip an arm off or anything. It's going to suck and it's going to be painful, but it's not going to be the death of you.
No.
Unless you drown or something. But
and that generally does not happen in Lake Sakakawea.
yeah, I've
Nobody
not
gets
really
bit by a muskie.
Yeah, I've not ever really heard of that happening directly, other than it's a possibility. But like, I still get those little pangs of anxiety swimming around in the middle of the lake where it's like, I can't see 10 feet below me. Okay. There could be anything.
Right.
And that bothers me a little bit, but I can overcome that pretty easily. But
all right.
It still pops up every once in a while. But yeah, I don't have any particularly bad phobias. I guess I'm not a huge fan of the dark, but I don't know.
I don't mind the dark. The dark doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
It never has. In fact, I kind of thrive in the dark. I'm part mushroom.
Part mushroom.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna go for like vampire or something, but no, mushroom.
Mushroom. Yeah.
You're if you were a D&D race, you'd be a half myconid. I don't know how that would even work.
Or a full myconid.
Or just a myconid.
I'd just be a myconid.
Yeah, just a mushroom person. You're Toad from Mario. There you go.
Thank you.
Okay, Cattle Decap.
Cattle Decap.
Okay. So, Cattle Decapitation is an American death metal / death grind band. They still kind of earn that title. From San Diego, California. They were founded in 1996. There aren't, technically speaking, any original members left in the band.
Really?
Travis came in pretty soon after the band was founded, but he wasn't the original vocalist, and nor is Josh Elmore the original lead guitarist.
And I do love, by the way, that they use 3 vocalists.
Oh no, Monfrere.
What? What are you suggesting?
So yeah, Travis came in pretty soon after Josh Elmore, a little bit later, but Travis is the closest thing they have to an original member. At least he's been on, as far as I know, every release that they put out has been with Travis Ryan. And they've put out, let's see, I think 6 full-length albums.
Okay.
Maybe 7. And this is the most recent one. You mentioned that they have 3 different vocalists. No, that's just Travis doing his thing. It is a great pain to me that Travis cannot quite pull it off live.
Really?
Anyone would be challenged to do that at a live performance.
Sure.
Travis's high vocals, of which he has an extremely high shriek. He can pull that off pretty goddamn well. But his low vocals and his gutturals really, really suffer.
Oh no.
People make jokes about like Cookie Monster vocals in death metal. He kind of ends up doing that. I think he used to be a little bit better, but it's kind of suffered, I think, since they started like touring full time and that sort of thing. It's really kind of taken a toll on his voice. But as a studio performer, and obviously he had to have been able to pull that off at least once in the studio.
In front of a microphone.
Right. He's capable of it. It's just most other times it's just not optimal. And it like that bothers me a little bit because there are not a lot of really good live recordings of them, but the ones that you do find, Travis is kind of the weakest member there.
Bummer.
And it's kind of sad because he has great stage presence. He's very exciting, and it probably sounds better when you're in the crowd, but recorded digitally
doesn't work.
It doesn't really work, and it kind of can momentarily cheapen it a little bit of being like, oh, I can't do it live.
Bummer.
But it's then you think like, well, who could do this?
Sure. He's really setting the bar too high for himself to be able to do it live.
I think he is. But the result of him setting such a high bar in the studio is an amazing presence on their albums.
Which he has on this one.
Yeah, he has a ridiculous range. Like I said, very, very high screeched vocals and then just low gutturals. And his general growl is not as intense as what you would expect from like someone like George Fisher. And that's, I think, why his vocals don't quite sound right live is because it is less of a forceful scream.
Forceful scream? Someone's here.
Yeah, that happens every once in a while where people will just
hit a button,
see
who releases the door.
Yeah, it bothers the shit out of me because my thing doesn't generally work, so I can't do anything.
They have a pill for that.
Hey. If they do it again, I'll close that door, and that might prevent further distractions. But no, it is kind of almost like a grumble. In a sense, it's less of a scream and more of a rumble, and that allows him to articulate very well. And then they use layering to add a bit more depth to. What are you doing with your phone?
Muting it.
Oh, okay.
Just in case that happens again. That bothered me.
Can you mute my buzzer too?
I'll go mute the neighbors.
Yeah. But then they'll use layering to add a bit more depth to his vocals, and it ends up with almost like sort of a Devin Townsend thing as a preview for next week, where you end up with sort of this wall of vocals that mash up very well together. And then you've got Josh Elmore on lead guitar. He has an extremely bizarre guitar. I would encourage you to watch some of their live performances.
Yeah.
Or not live performances, but they have studio playthroughs. I cannot remember the brand of the guitar because it's something that no one else uses.
Okay.
That is sort of Josh's thing, is he likes stuff that nobody else uses.
All right.
It's a very strange shape. It's not super wacky or anything. It's just a shape that you don't see electric guitars, and the top is copper.
Neat.
It's
like
not
the
just
head, like the headstock is copper.
No, not the headstock. Sorry, the
top of the body.
The top of the body is copper. It has a sheet of copper on it.
Neat.
And it's not just the pick guard; it's the whole body.
Wow.
Is copper. It's just a really, really interesting looking guitar, and the copper has that nice green patina on it, where where his hands have sat, and so it's really beautiful, and it's a really interesting looking guitar, and it's just so strange because it's something nobody else uses. He likes to use metal picks.
Wow. Yeah. Those will saw through your strings so fast, though.
Yeah.
I've used those in the past.
And I don't know if he uses thin ones to try and cut back on that a little bit, but
the thin ones will do it faster.
Oh, yeah, I suppose you're right. Yeah, because they're more like a razor or something.
Which would be awesome if somebody used a razor.
I think the show would be over pretty quick.
Yeah. He has a wall of guitars behind him. He has to switch every song.
And a wall of extra palms. But
there's blood on every guitar.
Yeah, they use a lot of very interesting equipment. A little note about like the history of the band. They started out as an all-vegetarian act.
Sure.
And the name Cattle Decapitation refers to it's basically meant to be just something violent and gross that evokes the image of a death metal band, but also is meant to be a bit ironic because as a band full of vegetarians, they were also all fairly passionate about animal rights.
Right.
And the foundation of the band and the lyrical idea that they went with on most of their original releases was putting human beings through the situations that animals are usually put in.
Sure.
Whether that's in the meat industry or in pharmaceuticals or something like that.
So something similar to Carcass, really.
Yeah, subjecting human beings to the sort of torture that we put animals through. I say this as a meat eater.
Yeah,
but and it's a great concept for a grindcore or / death metal band. It's great fodder for that sort of imagery.
Meat grindcore.
Meat grindcore.
Yeah.
And they kept a lot of that theme on the Harvest floor, but then when Monolith of Inhumanity came out in 2012, they started moving more towards environmentalism in general, and that might have had something to do possibly with most of the original vegetarian members of the band being gone. Now it's just Josh and Travis that are the vegetarians. So maybe that sort of encouraged a shift towards, we'll talk about something else.
I wonder if in like band meal times, I
wonder how that's awkward.
Wonder how they get.
Yeah. I imagine that's something they all seem pretty cool with each other. So
right.
I imagine that's something that probably comes up on occasion, but maybe isn't too big of a deal.
It doesn't get contentious. Like the drummer will sit down with just a pile of meat. Nothing else on the plate.
I feel like Dave to sustain the sorts of things that he does,
probably needs a lot of meat.
He needs a fair amount of protein. That's the other thing. Dave McGraw has been with them since before Monolith of Inhumanity.
Right, after they kicked him out of Metallica.
Yeah. Yes, after they kicked him out of Metallica.
Right.
And he is a human AK-47.
Sure, he is. He's amazing.
His drumming is so tight.
Yeah.
Like kind of Gene Hoglan level tight.
Right.
And the bass is not quite is not technically as snappy as you think it is because of it's triggered bass. All of the cymbals and everything else is all natural.
Sure.
But he does use triggered bass drums just because when you're drumming in that BPM and recording and performing live, it can end up sounding a bit muddy if it's not dialed in perfectly. And so it just saves a little bit of time and effort of having to
So he uses a computer.
all that in. Yeah, it's just a trigger where you don't have to strike it nearly as hard to get the same response. You still have to strike the drum with the head, but the sound that comes out is digital rather than being picked up by a microphone.
Gotcha. So he's actually hitting it that fast.
Yes.
He's not just hitting it once and then it does like a repeat thing.
Yeah, he's not looping or anything. He is still, hitting it that fast. He's just not. He doesn't have to hit it as hard and as consistently as you would have to if it were all natural and mic'd up or whatnot.
Right, because it gets sloppy that way.
Yeah, it even if you have to expend a lot more effort, I think, to get it to sound nice, both on the drummer's end and on the technological end of whoever's running front of house sound and stuff like that. And a lot of extreme death metal bands will do that. They'll have triggered bass drum, but usually that's the only thing that is triggered for most bands. If they go for the triggers, is the bass drum.
Except for who stole my Snickers bar.
Yeah.
Now I'm triggered.
Hey. But and generally speaking, that's the only thing that really needs it, I think, and that really can require being triggered. And there was something else that I was going to say about that. I can't recall. Your Snickers comment threw me off.
Sorry,
but
so I'm here.
You're keeping me on my toes. Yeah, I think it would be weird to try and put. I don't know how you even would put triggers on like your snare and stuff like that. That would be strange.
Or on the guitar.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how an electric guitar works anyway. But
sort of, yeah.
Sort of, it's not the actual. You're not actually hearing the noise that the strings are making.
Well, you are.
Well, yes, but through several layers of electronic processing.
Unless it's the Andy Rayfeld Radio Disney version.
In which case, yes, you are hearing the sound of an electric guitar. You're hearing acoustic electric guitar.
Yeah.
Not electric acoustic.
No,
it's acoustic electric.
Right.
So muffled and thin sounding.
Has he done any Cattle Decap? I wonder.
Yes, he has.
Has he?
I believe.
Yes, he has.
Yeah, you've watched that.
I have watched that.
Forced gender reassignment.
And he sings like this.
Yes. It's kind of funny actually because Travis could probably do that. I've seen videos of them like hanging out and stuff like that, and Travis will be singing show tunes. And it actually sounds decent.
He should lean in with that.
Yeah, just lean into it.
If he's doing Cookie Monster sounding stuff, maybe
maybe a little bit, but
maybe switch it up with some Kermit,
switch it up with some Kermit,
switch into Ernie every now and then.
Yeah, or incorporate a little bit more actual melodic vocals.
Yeah,
he does have this. That's his third voice. And, a lot of extreme metal, you've got two voices. You've got the high, you've got the low.
Yeah.
Travis has a third option, which is this melodic.
It is. I mean, it is melodic. It's in key.
Yeah, it's in key.
Yeah.
But it's really strange sounding, like goblin sort of howl.
Well, the way I compared it to like an extreme version of David Wayne from Metal Church. R.I.P. David Wayne. But if you listen to that first album,
I think I listened to a tiny snippet of it.
Yeah.
Is that their self-titled one?
Yes, Metal Church.
Yeah, there's a song called Metal Church on the album Metal Church by the band Metal Church.
Yes, it was recorded in the year Metal Church.
Yes. I saw that meme recently.
In the city of Metal Church.
In the city of Metal Church. But yeah, he has this third voice that is just this really bizarre and frankly, like it's almost more unsettling than your typical death metal vocals.
I love it.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
I love when he does that, and it's interesting to see him the way he performs that. Is he kind of like he makes his tongue as fat as possible and sticks it between his teeth and up against his cheek, and
really?
That's sort of kind of how. Well, that's how he does some of his screams and whatnot, but it's bizarre. But he does all sorts of different weird mouth shapes to get the noises he makes to come out, and I like that.
He's making the effort. That is awesome.
And this album does, to sort of take advantage of that, does have more. It incorporates more melody because he sort of came up with that voice in Harvest Floor. Didn't use it very much on Harvest Floor. There's a little bit more of it on Monolith, and then this one had kind of the most use of it so far. I imagine there's going to be plenty of it on Death Atlas as well. So that sort of saw more melody incorporated in the guitar section as well, which I really appreciate. I like it when death metal bands do something a little bit different, because 50 minutes of just straight up death metal can get a little boring.
It can get tedious. I mean, your favorite thing... imagine sitting in a room and eating only chocolate for 10 hours.
Yeah,
Man, that would kind of suck.
Yeah, you would get sick. And it's like, as much as I love death metal, I like the stuff that isn't afraid to do something a little bit different.
Sure.
Even if it's something that's been done before by people in other genres, its incorporation into death metal makes it a little bit more intriguing and gives it a little bit more re-listen value. Especially if you're listening to the entire album in a sitting. It helps to keep things fresh.
Which they do in this, once again.
Yes. Everything stays fresh. So what I want to do right now is ask you if you think this slaps. Does this album slap, OJ?
No. Yes, this slaps the shit out of you.
Yeah, it slaps. It slaps really fucking hard. Yeah. Oh God, yeah. There's so much. I'm tempted. Like the pace is so fast. The guitars. I think one of the trademark Cattle Decapitation sounds is a guitar section that sounds like you're being attacked by a horde of angry hornets or bees or something like that. It's sort of this kind of tremolo picked in a way, but it's usually tremolo picking is usually some of the higher strings.
Right.
Cattle Decap will tremolo pick the lower strings.
Yeah. At breakneck speed.
Yeah, and it's not like Slayer where it's just the open chord over, or like a metalcore band or something like that. It is so fast, blindingly fast, and usually they're changing it up too. It's not just it's and twice as fast as the way I was just able to do that.
Sure.
There's a video of them in the studio switching, camera positions from drummer, guitarist, bassist, and you can see. I mean, it's the same riff over and over again, played extremely, extremely fast. But you see the bassist just going up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. It's very impressive. It's not the most complicated thing in the world to watch, but it ends up with a very, very dense and frantic sound that I really appreciate.
It's very awesome.
Yeah. Because in like death metal, it's usually the drums that sound the most frantic, and you don't always get that impression from the guitar. Oh, they
do it here.
Yeah, you get the feeling that you're running at about 5 million miles an hour, and I love the shit out of it.
And dying of a heart attack.
So the score for this album, they had a Metacritic score. It's been the first time in like months I feel like an album has had a Metacritic score.
Wow. Is that the only score you found? Just Metacritic?
No, there was a bunch other ones, but it's Metacritic, so they've already done my work for me.
They've compiled.
Yeah, they've compiled. So 86% on Metacritic.
Nice.
Which I think is a good score, kind of in line with a lot of other albums that we like, that we bring to the table here, usually end up between 85 and 92.
Right.
Usually. Because we've talked about this many times before. If you get like 100%, there's something fucky going on.
Right.
No album is that good.
No, you had 2 reviewers and they were both in the band.
Yeah. No album is that good.
No.
To get 100% from everybody when you compile them into an average. A band can get 100% from a couple different publications. That's fine. But if everyone's doing it, no. There's got to be some problem with
something funky.
Something fucky going on here. So what's your favorite song?
My favorite song is Mammals in Babylon.
Mammals in Babylon.
I love that song. Something about that song just sticks out in my head.
I'm trying to recall.
It's got some really cool short stops and starts in it.
One thing that should be mentioned, I think, is Travis Ryan's lyricism too.
Oh yeah,
we've talked about his variety as a vocalist, but his lyricism. One can imagine the use that this man's thesaurus gets. How many adjectives?
Maybe he just has that in his head.
Maybe, but like the amount of adjectives that he can throw out in one sentence or one line of a song is truly impressive. And the lyrics keep up with the guitars and the drums. Yeah.
You all right?
Like a bubble of phlegm there.
Bubble of phlegm. Ooh.
Band name?
Band name.
There we go. My favorite song is The Prophets of Loss.
Yeah, that'd be the third song? Or is it the second song?
I believe that is the second song.
Yeah.
I enjoy that one a lot because there is a melodic Travis vocal there that is "We fucking die tonight," and that's perfectly all right with me. The nihilism of that, I really, I don't know, something about that I really like.
But let me tell you, actually, I've already thought of that as I was thinking about how I'm going to be jumping off a building this Saturday.
God. No, OJ. No. Keep the dark thoughts.
No, when the dark thoughts are helpful because it's the thoughts of, everything's fine. I want to live. That's going to keep me from having any fun.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's a weird way of looking at it, but okay.
I want to jump off this building. What's the worst and the best thing can happen?
Oh.
I could end up as a splat on the ground.
Jesus.
Neither of those things is going to happen, so let's just do this.
Jesus, that's dark. Also, interesting about the Prophets of Loss, Big Phil's on there.
Big Phil's.
Not
Big Phil.
Big Phil is on there. Phil, I almost said Labonte. That's from the band All That Remains.
Phil Anselmo.
Yeah, Phil Anselmo is on that track. Yep. On the intro and then later, a little bit later in the song.
Right.
Phil Anselmo of Pantera fame.
Pantera and what was the other band he was in?
Well, I was going to say the other thing he's famous for is being a dick.
White power.
God damn it, Phil.
Yeah. God damn it. By the way, another note on that, I listened to this on Amazon Music, and I tried to come back and revisit the album, and for some reason on Amazon Music, it only thinks that's the song. That's, I want to listen to this album. That's the song that's on this album.
That's the only one.
Yeah, I hit play, but I've already heard this before. Yeah. And once the song is over, well, that's the end of the album. No, that's not.
There's more than just the Prophets of Loss.
Great song, but how do we listen to more than Prophets of Loss?
Oh, there's another great line on the Prophets of Loss, which is, you may not know it now, but your children are fucked. There's a lot of sort of dark humor and prophetic messages and that sort of thing that are on there, because the name of the album is the Anthropocene Extinction. If you don't know what the Anthropocene is,
it's the era that is ruled by modern man.
Yeah, and where the entire biosphere has come to be affected by human activity, which is the era we're living in
now.
I don't know if it's official throughout the entire scientific community, but there's been multiple conferences and whatnot where it's do we declare this a new geological era? And I think it's gotten a fair amount of traction.
Yeah, I would say we do.
Yeah,
and I would say that they're about right.
Yeah. Well, because
in announcing the next mass extinction, extension, yes,
the next mass extinction is going to be one that is our responsibility,
or not is going to be.
Yeah, it is currently,
presently,
it is already happening. Yeah, species are going extinct at record rates. It's just that most of them are little teeny ones that people don't know or care about.
Right. By the time we get to the big ones that people do know or care about, we go, oh shit, what do we do? Nothing now.
Too late. Too late, bitch. But yeah, there is the cover of the album, by the way, if you've watched it or if you've seen the album cover, you might be wondering, what's all the stuff that's coming out of that guy's corpse?
Sure.
That is trash.
Yeah, garbage.
That is
the whole beach
garbage.
is covered. And I love how the album opens with a pleasant sort of beachy sound.
Yes.
And you're looking at the cover going,
yeah. And that's based on actually they have found corpses of fish and birds and turtles that have washed up on the shore, and when they begin to rot and the corpses begin to open up, their stomachs are filled with trash. And so, in traditional cattle decap style, this is the thing that's happening to animals. This is what it looks like when it's happening to humans.
Sure.
And that's the album cover. And there's a little Easter egg actually far in the background if you look for it. There is the monolith of inhumanity in the background atop its pile of trash.
Sure.
Just sort of positioned in the background. And I think they're keeping that as an Easter. I saw, I think, at least in the trailer video for Death Atlas, I think the monolith was there as well. I think that's just going to be become a piece that's present in a lot of their album covers from now on, just because it's a cool thing. But the stylistic idea behind the monolith is it's like the monolith from 2001, except instead of evolving humanity, it's devolving humanity, which is why the guy in the album cover is ripping his face off and there's a chimp underneath it. Because he's being forcibly devolved by this monolith.
So what we're saying is Travis Ryan is the Mark Mothersbaugh of the new century.
Apparently.
You don't know who that is, do you?
I don't think I do.
The band Devo?
I know the band name.
Yeah, they were talking... Man, I'll have to introduce you to some of that. Not on the podcast. It doesn't really fit the theme.
September's coming up pretty soon.
Okay.
We're not going to be doing metal in September.
We can do some Devo, I guess.
We could do some Devo.
Actually, there's a lot of Devo that has affected metal, I feel.
Okay. Yeah, we could. Yeah, it's just think about it. It's whatever you want. It's whatever you want. I
promise we didn't get stoned before this podcast. Hey, yeah, man.
It's whatever you want, man. Don't worry about it. The final song also is called Pacific Grim.
Yeah.
I like that one. The name is clever.
Pacific Rim.
Yeah, and also the part of the beginning was about the Fukushima disaster, a nuclear accident, vomits into the ocean, that sort of thing. And then the track that preceded it was Awe Exicium, which I believe means hail death in Latin. And just this idea that, we're fucked. I mean, that's the whole album is we're fucked. We're fucked. And, what are you going to do about it? Is there anything we can do about it?
To quote one of the greatest thinkers of the 20th century, it helps to remember we're all fucked.
Yeah. But
you know who that is?
I don't think so.
George Carlin.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you say one of the greatest thinkers of the 20th century, I feel like that's actually appropriate. George Carlin was a very intelligent man.
Yeah.
Had a lot of important things to say before he got really angry.
Don't sweat the petty things, and remember, don't pet the sweaty things.
Your shit is stuff, and their stuff is shit.
Mr. Topham Hat was.
I love those videos.
Those are great.
Those are amazing. But yeah, Pacific Grim is a great album closer. I think it's very epic. Great. Oh yeah, we've had 2 weeks in a row. By the way, our beer tonight is a Sinister Belgian Ale.
By Laughing Sun, made here in good old North Dakota.
Really, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, Laughing Sun is a North Dakota brewing company.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I have a Laughing Sun growler at home.
Oh, that's your growler that you have.
Yeah.
Apologies to our Australian listeners.
A growler is something else entirely in Australia, yes.
Yeah, and I think the UK.
Yeah.
Possibly. I'm just thinking, I'm picturing Carl Urban saying growler.
All right. In one of his country songs.
God damn it! But I think I had a few more ideas about like the, some of the things to talk about, but I think you understand the idea.
Sure.
These are very clever, very talented guys, and I'm very, very excited for Black Friday.
I've heard the snippet. If you get a chance to go out and listen to that song from the new album.
Yeah, I can't recall.
You can't listen to the whole song either.
Yeah, it's only a minute-long snippet.
Right.
But I'm hoping they put a single out soon. I'm dying for a single right now.
Like something on the radio.
Yeah. Yeah, something we could play.
I hear a single.
Here we have, it's the new 45.
It's got a great beat and you can dance to it. It's,
wow.
It's Cattle Decapitation.
You can certainly try to dance to it. It's not like Bleed by Meshuggah, where it doesn't matter what rhythm you're dancing to, it works.
I'm trying to think, man. What dance would you do? I suppose just
to cattle the dance to cattle decapitation is moshing.
Yeah,
yeah, or just having a seizure.
Which reminds me, did you see that anthrax is in the news this week?
What? Well,
speaking of moshing,
didn't you say that? You never explained to me the story. I just heard you say, "Hey, anthrax is coming to North Dakota," yeah. And then Jeff said something about Scotty, and I was like, "Well, what's the thing?" And you never told me.
Yeah, there's some cattle had anthrax.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah, I wanted to say, because in the news story it said, anthrax has been found in North Dakota. A couple of tests in cattle.
Anthrax is on tour in North Dakota.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Anthrax on tour in North Dakota.
There we go. So what medal do you want to give to the Anthropocene Extinction?
I'm going to give it a silver.
Okay.
It's brilliant, and it's near perfect for what it is. But I mean, it's once again, we got to reserve the gold for some crazy shit.
Okay.
But I mean, it's high silver.
Yeah, I'm calling it a gold just because I've been with this album since around it came out, so I've been right there alongside it.
Since around it came out,
encouraging it every step of the way,
nurturing it, watering it, giving it sunlight.
Yep. No, I think I got into this album like Christmas of 2015.
I thought it came out in 2016.
No, it was 15.
Was it 15?
They started writing it in 2014, and then it came out in 15. And yeah, it was around like Christmas or New Year's that I sort of discovered Cattle Decapitation and started listening to this record. So it's this I've been listening to this for a long time.
It's very important to you.
I don't know if I'd say it's very important to me. I usually reserve that for stuff that has emotionally affected me. I just think this is brutal as fuck.
It is brutal as fuck.
It's brutal as fuck, and it's very clever, and it's interesting, but it's not. This isn't like a Wonder Years to me. This isn't. It doesn't mean something to me emotionally. It's
it does mean something to me emotionally. It makes me wait for their new album. Makes me really hunger for
more. Yeah.
Yeah. I want more of this.
More of this.
Yeah.
We could have talked about Monolith of Inhumanity, but I think the thing with Monolith is it is as brutal as it is a little too clean. It's not quite, they call it Monolith of Inhumanity, and the instrumentals sound a little inhuman. They sound a little hollow.
Sure.
A little too digital, a little too processed.
A little too triggered.
A little too triggered. Yeah, and they're missing a little bit of warmth. They're lacking some of the warmth that this album has. From a completely technical standpoint, not an emotional
it's just
standpoint.
a fun thing. Cattle Decapitation. Their last album lacked warmth. I thought
it lacked warmth, yeah.
The warmth that this album has.
Yeah, from a production standpoint, not an emotional.
I listened to this one while wearing fingerless gloves and drinking a coffee by my window.
I would, I not the fingerless gloves, but I've certainly listened to this while drinking coffee by my window. Very odd thing to be listening to, but it's happened to me. I would listen to this at any hour of the day. So yeah, I'm giving it a gold just because I've got a lot of experience with it, and it's one that I keep on coming back to. So
awesome.
Usually, that's the mark of a gold to me is can I listen to this album over and over again?
Which I can listen to this over and over again. That's true.
But it's new to you, so that's fine.
It's new, yeah.
I ain't gonna fault you for giving it a silver.
All right.
Silver's still pretty good, still a very valuable metal. It's all right.
Well, it's very good.
It's all right.
It's a very high silver.
I'm slow. I just gotta loosen my jowls a little bit. I'm trying to get into Mike from Breaking Bad.
Yeah, it's either Mike or Al Pacino. Yeah.
Al Pacino's a little bit more up here. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Hooah.
Hooah.
You've seen Stench of a Bitch, right?
No.
When?
No.
Oh, well,
Stench of a Bitch?
Scent of a Woman. I just remember my drummer's sister coming out of the movie when it came out. She said, we saw Stench of a Bitch in the theater. We're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Al Pacino. Oh, you mean Scent of a Woman? She said, yeah, whatever. It was a good movie. I liked it. I'm going to bed.
Oh, that's really good. That's fucking funny. Yeah. Okay. So, before we got off on that weird tangent.
All right.
Next week.
We're going to do Strapping Young Lad.
Which strapping lung strapping lung wow.
Slapping lung
Which strapping young lad album?
The New Black.
The New Black
one,
okay.
From 2004. I want to say.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
But strapping young lad. One thing I do know, it's Devin Townsend. It's his sort of metal project.
Yes.
That is currently on hiatus, I believe. I don't think there's been a new strapping album in quite some time.
I feel like there's not going to be another one. I feel like the Devin Townsend project is too. Like they just came out with a new album. Have you listened to the new one? I think we discussed this before.
So is Empath, is that Devin Townsend project, or is that just Devin Townsend? Because
what's the demarcation there?
I feel like just Devin Townsend is like he was doing everything by himself, and Devin Townsend project is him in the studio with a band.
Well, he does. Yeah, there's definitely other musicians in here. I mean, Devin Townsend project is probably what that is.
Because there's a difference on Spotify. Because I was trying to find I went to Devin Townsend project and I was like, that's 2014. That was a new one. And then I went to Devin Townsend, and then there was Empath. So I don't know. Anyway,
I feel like the new Devin Townsend could be in Carnegie Hall. That's where that one kind of belongs.
Yeah, he's just he's an extremely talented musician.
Yeah.
We've talked about one of his non-metal projects a few months ago in March.
Right.
So nice to be getting into some strapping young lad. We'll talk about that. I already know what the album for my next week is going to be. It is going to be Melancholy by Shadow of Intent.
Nice.
It's their new album. It's coming out, I believe, at the end of the week or maybe over the weekend.
So we're both going to be new to it.
We're both
I love it when that happens.
Going into it brand new because I had forgotten it was coming out, and I think it was Metal Sucks or Metal Injection gave it a 5 out of 5.
Really?
They gave it a perfect score. So I was like, all right, this has got to be on my radar now, because I love Shadow of Intent, but I hadn't quite been keeping up with them in the most recent album cycle, and it's like, okay, I'll have to definitely check this out. And I was listening to the singles all last night and really, really digging them. So
cool.
Shadow of Intent is a great.
Where are they from?
They're kind of all over. They're American.
Oh, they're American. They're an American band. They're coming to your town. They're going to party down.
They might. And Ben DeWer from Shadow of Intent is kind of reminds me of a young Travis Ryan that can still pull it off.
Okay.
There's live videos of them performing, and he's got it, and he's got a lot of range too. So we'll get to that in a couple of weeks. But for next week, Strapping Young Lad.
Okay.
The New Black. I like it. So in the meantime, you should check out our social media pages. Give those a follow. If for nothing else than to get updates if you don't subscribe to us on iTunes or something, if you're a listener on Libsyn or YouTube or whatever, wherever you I can't quite say wherever you get your podcasts, because there's some more stuff. That's what literally every other podcast says, but I'm too lazy to put us on Stitcher and shit like that.
Are we not on iTunes? We're on iTunes, right?
We're on iTunes as far as I know.
Sure.
Is however much longer that is going to last. It might have already ended. I don't know. But you can get updates for our podcast on those sites. And the best way to do that is to follow us on Twitter or on Facebook. We always post new episode links there. That's pretty much the only thing we post. So you're not going to get bombarded by a bunch of stupid bullshit you don't care about.
Nice.
Because we love you.
Sometimes we sit by a window with a cup of coffee and think about you
while we're listening to Cattle Decapitation. Yeah. All right, so thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Bronze Metalist Podcast. I'm Kayle.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations.
All right.
We don't have bottles, so it's,
no, we don't. We're not going to clink.
Yeah.
Just so you know, next week's album has trombone on it as well, and trumpets.
What does that have to do with anything?
Because we were talking about that like podcasts ago. Well, this has some brass instruments on it.
Okay. End episode.
Yay!